What would happen if you didn't have property rights? Can you think that through with me? Let's say that everybody thought they owned everything and everything belonged to everybody. People would be what? Yeah. You would really never be secure anywhere, right? And without property rights, just when an improvement is done, some covetous neighbor would come and say, ooh, I'd like that. I mean, any of you grow, let's say, tomatoes? You grow tomatoes? Now, I don't know about you guys, but tomatoes has got to be vine ripened, right? You know the difference between a vine ripened tomato and a tomato that is picked green and sprayed or whatever they do to it and make it turn red. So you plant a tomato plant, it grows, and there's a few of these luscious looking tomatoes are going to be luscious looking. And you know that tomorrow that tomato is going to be just right for you to pluck. You get up the next morning and you go out to pluck your tomato, vine ripened, and what's happened? It's gone. And somebody else had their eye on it. Fundamental, and they come and got it. And they would do that unless what? Unless they understood the idea of property rights and ownership, and unless that were enforced. You keep your hands off of my property. Okay? So without property rights, you know what else would happen? Well, let's go through this. Without property rights, it really would destroy an incentive to work. Do you believe that? What would be your question? Why work when I can take somebody else's work, or if somebody is going to come take something that I just worked for, then why work? Why grow food? Except for one thing. What would happen? Nobody grew any food because as soon as they did, somebody would take it. What would take over? Hunger. And according to Cicero, you remember that little phrase he talks about natural law? It summons to duty by its commands. Well, your stomach is going to start commanding you to do something. So what are you going to do? You're going to go out and plant something to grow so it has something to eat. What's your neighbor going to do? He's going to plant something. Everybody's going to be planting things. And then what are you going to do once it gets up and about ripe? You're going to make sure that you stay out there and sleep out there. And as soon as it's ripe, what are you going to do? You're going to pluck it and what? Eat it. Hopefully you got something else growing next to it. Right? In other words, folks, unless there's enforced property rights, our whole society would basically be reduced to what? Anarchy and what we call a hand-to-mouth subsistence. You plant it, you raise it, you pluck it, you eat it. You plant it, you raise it, you pluck it, you eat it. You can't go to school, you can't go anywhere. You just, whatever you can grow, you can eat. And society does not raise itself to any higher level unless property rights are protected. You understand that? So you're deprived the fruits of your labor, or you could be. Marauding bands would be out there around just looking for anything that looks valuable. And as we said, societies, and you can show this, societies who do not protect property rights do not rise above a bare subsistence level for the very reason we've talked about. So what does that mean property is really? You have something that you want to develop. You have put into that what? Can you think that through with me? Property becomes an extension of what? Of you, of what you are. Right? And the development of your property becomes really an extension of your labor, your creativity, your energy to do it. You believe that? So property is an extension of life. Now let me ask you this question. What does your bedroom look like at home right now? Ooh. Huh? Well, we had a long weekend, so it kind of gives you time to, you know. I ask you, is your bedroom a proper reflection of you right now? It isn't? You don't think it is? I submit to you that your bedroom is a reflection of you. It may not be what you want, but it is a reflection of you. Let me ask you this question. Are your grades at school here a reflection of you? They are. See, that's where the rubber hits the road. What is real? Not what you dream about. What is real? The energy you put into something, the labor you put into something, the creativity and all of that. Wherever it is right now, right? You have savings accounts? Does your savings account reflect you? Huh? Yeah. It has as much in it as you really want. Because if you really wanted something else, that would reflect that. Anyway, kind of interesting to think about that. My property, everything I have, is a reflection of me. How I take care of it. We had a student here. Well, he's not here now, but he used to be a couple of years ago. He would carry around a big notebook like this. It was about that thick, but the rings were only that big around. He stuffed every single paper in there. Didn't even put it in, in the holes in the rings. He just stuffed it in, and he would just carry it around. And I thought to myself, because I knew how he was, I thought, that is a reflection of him. And one day he dropped it, and it was all over everything. But it was just kind of a reflection of how he was. Anyway. So we say property really is the result of life, energy, and ingenuity. So let me ask you this question. If somebody's property is an extension of themselves, if their property is violated, stolen, attacked, destroyed, or whatever, what can you really say? Then their very life is being violated. An attack on somebody's property is really an attack on that person himself. You ever thought of that? So, all this is John Locke. This is incredible thinking here. To destroy property is an attack on life itself because somebody has put energy into that property.